All right, guys, this is Chris with Drop Dice. This week we're doing something a little bit different for the World Builder series. Part of it is going to be the topic for the week, and then part of it's also going to be a review. Unfortunately, I've been a little sick all week, and I still am. So, if this one's not up to my normal momentum or anything, please forgive me. I've just been battling this summer cold for a couple days now, and it's just getting worse apparently. So the first topic the topic of the day is talking about regionalizing or making your races defined more about their culture and their surroundings more than necessarily common race traits. And kind of the basic thought of this is if you look at our world, when you look at the way humans are inside the world, somebody who grows up in a European culture is going to be very different than an American culture, or even country to country within like even something like Europe. There's going to be an overall defining factor, but there's going to be personality traits and quirks and things like that that are more predominantly related to other countries. So like if you were to see like an Englishman and a Scotsman, they would totally be different, and they'd have some defining characteristics that are a little bit different. I mentioned that before we started the race building series that I wanted to kind of delve into, first off, building the races, and then kind of talking about where they differ because of their region and their different ways of growing up and things that they do. Now, I think if you guys check, there's actually a link inside my description. I went ahead and put it in there to begin with this time. For Tabletop Terrors actually just put out a book called The Tieflings of Dragongrin, which basically does this with tieflings. They've got the standard tieflings inside their world, which is kind of your run-of-the-mill normal tieflings that you come across, and then there are some special ones. And this is kind of how I'd recommend it for anybody who wants to try regionalizing or defining a race by their region. Create a baseline race, and then from there, create a couple special ones. If you have a player who's particularly interested in one of those special ones, then that definitely works to your advantage because you can kind of work with them to shape out a race that they think would be interesting. At least that's how I would kind of present it to my group, as saying, hey, okay, you want to be a tiefling, but you want to be almost a dwarven quality tiefling, which the Villach, I might be saying that wrong, the Villach tieflings from that supplement have kind of similar traits to dwarves, but they're not necessarily dwarves. They're still very unique. That's actually my favorite subrace that's in there. The other one I think is kind of cool, but it doesn't like appeal to me as much as the Villach did. Essentially, they're more of a militant race. They disdain away from drinking because they think it's willingly putting yourself in a weakened state. And the one thing that I thought was kind of cool is because tieflings have their own magic and things like that. What they did is they gave the Villach and the I forget what the other one's called, the Granach Thor, if I remember right. It means the broken hand. I'm probably saying that wrong, but the broken hand tieflings and the Villach, they each have the racial tiefling spell feature, but their spells are customized specifically for those races. So they have spells that you don't get on normal spell lists that you only get with being that race, which I think is kind of cool to have a feature like that where racial features are defined as something separate if it's a spell casting feature. Sorry about that. So I think that could work really well in a game. I've already talked to Tim and James about some of the things that I saw inside there that I think they could kind of improve upon with their future supplements and splat books that they're planning on putting out, because they're looking at putting out more of these. So if you do happen to be interested in some regionalizing stuff, but not sure where to go with it, first I'd recommend their video, because they kind of break down how they did it, which was basically they took a base race and they took some aspects from another race, for example, the Villach and the Dwarves, and they kind of mashed them together, but changed it in a way that it made the Villach stand out and be distinctly different than both Tieflings and Dwarves. So for the Flood world, if I wanted to make a group of the bird people that I've been building, the Garuda, and the mystics that are unnamed right now. What I could do is I could take some of the aspects of the mystics, because they are kind of a predominant race, that maybe some of the Garuda have found interesting and taken on their own. So maybe what I'll do is I'll carry over some of the religious aspects and make it more of a predominant church type situation, or world religion situation, for what that Buddhist like mystic race does. Um, which would be actually probably something that I'll consider, because I want that religion to have a big sway in the world. And so I may have a couple other races that have adopted those practices. Right now, I'm still working on just baselining all the races and deciding which ones I want to have, which ones I don't want to have. I think the next one that I'm going to do is I have a player, Jeremy, who you guys will see inside the Legend of the Five Rings campaign, that he's played a rhino person before, an anthropomorphic rhino. That we all that like the first time he played it, the GM didn't really explain what he was, and we didn't know, so we thought he was just an ugly half orc with a weird nose condition. Um, and nobody ever even corrected us. And so we played with him, and we had a really fun time with that rhino person, and we've used the rhino person slash people before in other games. And so what I'm thinking is as kind of a tribute to Jeremy for playing such a great character and things like that, that we're going to include a rhino race. I originally didn't want to include another animalistic race if I could, just because I don't want to have too much. My original video where I was kind of brainstorming, we ended up with a lot of animal-like races, and so I'm probably going to rework it and do some different things with it. Like, I'm okay if I go with like a lizard race or a saurian type creature, but I just don't want to have too many animalistic creatures overall. I would think like a lizard would be far enough different, and it would have a different enough biology that things would be just different overall. But that'll be future videos when I'm feeling a little bit better. What I mainly wanted to direct you guys to this week is just about that book they did. It's actually really good. The book doesn't really explain how they created it, but if you watch the video goes into more detail, which is why I recommend watching that video first. And the book itself is a pay what you want through RPG drive-through. There is a link in the bottom of this video for it as well. They were asking for any sort of feedback that you guys might have. So Tabletop Terrors, they are on Facebook. I believe they have actually a Tabletop Terrors page, but they also have their YouTube channel. So if you want to provide any feedback on that video itself, you could just put the comments inside there, or you can go to their website, which is tabletopterrors.com, and let them know what you think about it, what you think they might be able to improve. Most of what I saw was actually just little design issues with the book, and they actually took that on board, and they're probably going to be making some changes from what I understand. And they've actually asked me to come on board to help them out with doing some read-throughs and helping them with design stuff. So I'm actually pretty excited about that, because I already work with them with the Copper Jackals game, which, speaking of which, if you guys are interested in watching a kind of high adventure traditional D&D 5e game, the Copper Jackals will do its first campaign on June 30th, I believe. Let me just double check here. Yes, June 30th at 8 p.m. EDT, or Eastern time. That one is probably going to be broadcast on their channel as far as I am aware. And that first game is going to be kind of establishing what the Copper Jackals are. And so if you are interested in playing a game, or you want to have, a chance to meet some new people, I recommend the One Shot group, the W3, all those Facebook groups. That way you can get out there and kind of meet different people. Now, I wanted to kind of give an example. So I was mentioning about the Garuda bird people taking on aspects of the sage race. So let me go ahead and pull them up real quick here so I can compare them side by side, and we can kind of talk about how you would mix those two together. So let me pull up my Google Documents here. All right. So, um, what I would do first is when looking at kind of doing this like crossover type thing, what you would do is look. My suggestion would be look at the core race first. So I'm looking at the Garuda first, and I'm just kind of going over it and reviewing what the Garuda is, what they do, and things like that. The one that I really liked was this civilized Garuda because it is kind of a good stepping point for something like this. Um, I don't necessarily think the raptor race because I have a feeling that the raptor type birds would be a little bit more like wild elves and be detached and be out there in the world, just as kind of like a tribal mentality. So I don't think they're a good fit for kind of this understanding of like the greater way that the universe works. The tropical ones might be a good fit too because they already have a wisdom bump. Um, but I feel like that's another one that maybe they're a little bit more detached. I think of them kind of like high elves. They would be a little bit more detached from the standard society. So I'm thinking the civilized would be kind of the best place to kind of create my jumping off point. So I've got an intelligence score bump of 1, and let's see here. They get social, which is they get the persuasion charisma skill, which replaces their normal keen senses. They have an extra language, and they use trance. Somebody mentioned the mystic race inside my last video that maybe they should have trance inside there, and I thought that was a good opinion, a good idea. So I may end up reworking them so that I can include a trance inside there. Um, I really liked the idea of the mind over matter, the centered, the touch of the void, and stuff like that. Um, but I kind of don't. I'm a little on the fence. Like I want them to go ahead and understand that they should meditate and things like that. But I don't necessarily know if I want to make it a racial quality in them. I think it should be something that they strive to socially to do is to go ahead and meditate and go into a point where they can achieve higher understanding. The way I've kind of built them is they're kind of like Shaolin monks is kind of the way that they're kind of built. They've got that mind over matter, the centered, which gives them the better saving throws against magic, and then they get the lucky ability basically. So I'm thinking that I'm going to keep them that way. But if I keep the Garuda civilized having the trance, what I could do is actually take something like maybe their hmm, let's see, maybe their varied teachings idea, the ability that was basically stone cunning, but reflavored to work towards religion. Maybe I could give the civilized Garuda varied teachings as their own kind of replacement for the social aspect. And let's see here. I'd have to double check the point values. This is just kind of me spitballing off the top of my head, just to make sure everything balances out. But I think varied teachings instead of social might be a good fit, and maybe working touch of the void in there, which is that lucky trait that we reflavored for the mystic race. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of a good way to go about it. And they don't have um, any sort of natural spell casting like the Tropical Garuda do, so I wouldn't have to worry about adjusting that. But the reason I like the civilized Garuda is because I've already built a trance inside them, and so maybe that's a quality that they've brought to the table with kind of taking on this more religious lifestyle. Is maybe they've developed a little bit more of a way to function their trance into something like a study method for them. Uh, so that would actually allow having that religious trance idea that was brought up in the previous video, but not necessarily go away from my original thought for for the excuse me for the mystic race that I wanted them to try and strive for it. It wasn't something that comes natural to them. Instead, the Garuda maybe that comes natural to them because that's kind of part of who they are already. So that might be a good way to mash them up. What I'll do is I will do the mashup and I will throw it up on the Drop Dice blog. And once it gets put up, I'll go ahead and add a link to it inside this video. Once I balance it out, make sure that it factors in correctly as far as the points go, and make sure that it doesn't really step on the toes of any one particular race and create something new. Inside that article, I'll probably write a little bit more about what my process was and what I was thinking about making changes that where I did. To kind of give you like a step-by-step of what I did. Until then, like I said, check out the Tabletop Terrors video I linked, because it does go into detail about how those changes were made and what they did exactly and how they reflavored it and what they did to kind of twist things a little bit to make it more unique. And they also talked about adding a special thing about the race, and I actually really like the way they do it, so I'm probably going to steal that idea. If you look at like the Villach, they like songs, ballads, and performances, but it's not like anybody can perform them. It's you have to be trained for it, because it's a like a time-honored tradition amongst them. When you read the Villach, you'll understand why. But what I really liked was when you got done reading the Villach, they included, I think it was like 4 or 5 songs and plays and poems and things like that inside there. And it wasn't like word for word what it was. It just told you the name of it, what its subject matter was, and what it basically was, which is enough for players to be able to work with, or GMs for that matter. And I really like that, because a lot of art-focused cultures don't focus on what would be considered mainstream art in their culture, and it's really kind of open to the GM to figure that out. At least with what they've done, it kind of gives you some guidance and some initial stepping stones. If you look at the Broken Hand, they have magical gastronomy, which is like cooking, but potions mixed into their food. So if you have like jerky, it's jerky that does like gets you a hit dice back or something like that. That one I think was very neat and original. Like I said, for some reason the Broken Hand just didn't click with me personally. It's not a race that I probably would go to initially. I really like the way the Villach are, because I like those lawful, like very militant style cultures, because I think that there's a lot of good role playing that could be kind of explored from a very lawful culture. I don't know why, but I really think so. Chaotic cultures really seem to not really mesh with me comparatively. And that just may be a personal choice. I know some people really like those other alignments and things like that. All right, guys. So I am obviously not doing great because I keep wiping my nose and everything during this video. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you do get a chance, go ahead and check out their video, check out their product, and if you like it, go ahead and toss them a little bit of funding. If you can't do the funding, give their video a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to their channel, help them out. If any of their viewers are viewing me for the first time and you like the review that I've gone over here with you, feel free to share my video as well. Like I said, if you do happen to be part of the Copper Jackals, from what it sounds like, they've got a lot of good stuff coming up for you. I kind of moderate the Facebook page and help out with design questions, but that's kind of my role with the Copper Jackals. And then I've got a couple characters that hopefully we'll be able to see pretty soon when they come up, and I'll kind of keep you guys appraised of what's going on with the Copper Jackals as well as I put out more videos. As far as site announcements, originally I said that I was going to do L5R starting this Sunday. Unfortunately, because of some real world issues, I will not be able to start Sunday with the actual game. What I'm probably going to do instead is release a video that kind of talks about the characters and a little bit of their backgrounds before the actual game starts, to kind of introduce you to who they are. I've actually got to help my mother-in-law move, so that's going to eat up most of my Sunday, and I probably won't feel like running a game once I get home doing all that stuff. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you at the gaming table.